Won't you listen what the mind says? We've got to listen what the mind says. It says, do, 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 do. Hey, welcome to Listen What the Mind Says. And as we walk deeper into yoga and into self-discovery, we begin to ask the big questions. And these are, who am I? Why do I suffer? And in that process, the mind shows up sometimes as a trickster, the coyote or the kitty, and sometimes as a teacher. You've probably heard it before, and even from me, right? That the mind tells false stories. It spins self-limiting thoughts and recycles the same worries over and over again. I think we can agree that that's true, that that's an experience that we all have. But here's the twist. The mind is not just a liar, pants on fire, but the mind is a messenger. It's wired into our sensory system. It's wired into our senses. And it carries signals from the body up to the mind. And we can get into why. It's a vagal nerve if you want to look that up. But the mind really has this ability to receive a lot of information from the body. And it's wonderful. But when we listen to the signals from the body, it turns them into words when we listen deeply. The mind reveals what we really need. And so how? How does it do that? I think it's interesting. And so we talk about the 5 elements. And there's a lot of things in 5 in yoga and things. And we've seen our 5-layer meditation, how wonderful that is. But to understand the messages, we need to look at the 5 elements. And let's take a look at these. So earth. Earth is grounding and it has stability. It has nurture. But it's also heavy, slow, and sometimes hard to change. We move up to water. And I've got my feet in some water right now. I love water. Water is cooling and flowing, and it helps to shape the land, but too much water can sweep us away. And then we look at fire. Fire. I'm sitting out in the desert, and the sun's on me, and although it's a little cool right now, it is still warm. But fire is heat. It is transformation. It is expansion. But fire can also burn, destroy, and exhaust. I'm starting to see how these elements show up in our life. And let's look at these last 2. Air. And right now, there's a little breeze blowing. You can see a palm tree behind me, and it feels nice. But air is light. It's moving, ever changing. Air fuels creativity. It's less boundary. It's like, what is possible? But it can scatter us into restlessness. Ugh, I don't think you felt that before. Let's look at the last one, space. All the stuff around all this stuff. It's the pause between breaths, the stillness between actions, and even maybe the pause between one thought to the next thought, which we try to expand in some meditations. Space gives perspective, but too much leaves us ungrounded. So how does this kind of work with us? And we look at the language of the mind. So now, here's the key. I love this. The senses report to the mind, and the mind speaks in words. So they say, listen to the body. Well, what does that mean? Well, the body has told the mind its qualities. The 5 elements. And then it creates that language, and it gives away the story. Listen to yourself sometimes. Here's some examples. I feel ungrounded. It means earth is missing. I can't settle down. Earth is calling you. My blood is boiling. Fire is high, and maybe water is needed. These are things that arise from within us that the body is told the mind. These are the things that we want to pay attention to. These are the things that help people like me help you, but also help you, which is the ultimate goal. Guru, take from darkness to light. We want to say that we are our best teacher. And a good teacher will point you right back at yourself, which is what your mind can be doing when it listens to the body. I can't get moving today. You never felt like that. Too much earth again. We might be needing to call in air or water. And here's another one that just comes up from my language. I feel contracted. There's no space. And the body is asking for that space that we need. So let's be clear, these words are not random. They're not just something that just comes out of us like some uninformed blob of language that comes from us. These are our everyday diagnostics, our self-diagnostics. The mind is telling you which element is out of balance. And once we know the element or elements that are out of balance, then we get to do something with it. And that's called cultivate the opposite. And that's like my favorite thing. And when I started to realize that, it was just like, boom, light bulb went off. In yoga, we call it pratipaksha bhavana, which simply a fun way of saying cultivate the opposite. Yoga therapy gives us the tool, which is pratipaksha bhavana, to cultivate the opposite. When something is out of balance, bring in its opposite quality. Seinfeld fans, remember this. I don't watch much Seinfeld, but there was one episode that caught me is, remember George Costanza, and it seems like every instinct he had was wrong. And so one day in this episode, he decides to try the opposite. His gut says, don't speak up. So he speaks up. His gut says, turn left. He turns right. And suddenly, weirdly, his life starts to work. He gets the job, the date, the respect. It's hilarious. I love it. And it's profound. That's yoga therapy. When we listen to the body mind, and then like George, we bring in the opposite, we can find that inherently we know what is right. And the trick is, almost like George, is like he had to doubt that first instinct. And oftentimes the first instinct comes from the head and the mind. And we can go into the psychology of that. It's like a piece of protection mechanisms and all that type of stuff. Beautiful. But when we stop and pause and become more present into the here and now and take in practices like our 5-layer meditation, when we take in our yoga, when we start to really listen to what's going on in ourselves and create a language around the qualities, a language for yourself that is about the qualities of what you're experiencing, and becomes then unique to you. Then if we say we've got too much fire, we call on water. If we've got too much earth, we invite air. Too much space, we ground with earth. Balance through the opposite. That is transformation. Let me tell you a little personal story about me from fire and rain. Oh, I seen fire and I seen rain. For me, fire runs high. I hear myself often say, I'm hot, I'm annoyed, I'm burned out. And I spend a lot of time in the desert, and it's a beautiful place to be. There's loved ones out here, but it is hard on my body and my mind. That's my signal when I'm saying those things. I'm hot, I'm annoyed. When I go through my 5-layer meditation and I say, oh my gosh, okay, this is what's happening. This is my signal. This is my signal for fire is in excess. So I turn to the opposite. Fire needs cooling. And for me, that means water, but for me, it's rain. And I'll tell you why, how this part of cultivating the opposite can be even more powerful for you. For me, rain soothes me. The sound, the smell, the gray sky, soft with light, rain truly restores me. And it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper. I have memories tied to rain. As a kid, and this is where some of our biggest things come that merge and mold us in our lives, these memories and experiences we had as a kid. As a kid, rainy days in Southern California, which were few, meant staying inside. We got to play games, and for me, that made me feel safe and connected together. There wasn't this playground competition for me. And then later in life, I worked construction, and this was hot, brutal work, and we were out in the sun uh, all day long, and there was no stopping. We poured concrete, and we had to um, just keep going, just keep going. And so when it rained, we rested. Rain meant relief. It meant joy. Rain meant promise for me. So when fire burns too hot in me, I don't just cool off. I invoke rain through the senses, memories, and the body's own wisdom. And maybe that's why the James Taylor song, Fire and Rain, hits so deep, because fire can burn and rain can soothe. And between those two lies the story of our healing, my healing for being fire in excess. So let's bring it all together here. So here's the practice. Listen to what your mind says. Not the false stories, not the recycled doubts, but the key words rising from your senses. These words are signals. They reveal the element that's speaking. And once you know, you apply the opposite. Fire meets rain, heaviness meets movement, scatteredness meets grounding, and space meets presence. It's not abstract, it's personal. It's alive in your senses, it's in your memories, and what brings you joy. In your memories is what brings you joy and ease. When you listen to the body, the mind is no longer an enemy, it becomes a messenger. It gives you the map back to balance. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Take time to be present. It is in that presence that we get to really experience life. Thanks for joining me.